Every time I fail to get a passport for somebody, I think of the unique and very serious situation. Sometimes they have to travel for funerals, other times it's for holidays. But there's always cost and disappointment involved for people in this. And I think we should never lose sight of the actual human situation that a person arrives when they don't get the service. And what I do notice is that the state often requires you to do things within 28 days or within 14 days, or they won't provide you the service. So I think we owe it to the people to provide efficient services. My question is, was there any systems analysis done to find out where the logjams were occurring in the system? And I don't accept the idea that you leave them all there and you don't pre-validate. Planning offices, for example, pre-validate planning applications to make sure all the paperwork is correct. Then they could then take sequence after that. And finally, Minister, is the issue in relation to the signature by An Garda Síochána as a witness, has that been fully resolved, and has that actually eased a lot of demand on your office?
First of all, can I just thank the deputies and generally the deputies in this House for their cooperation on passports, because I know that it's put a lot of pressure on many of your constituency offices from all parties. Right? A lot of applications, for example, from Northern Ireland come through Sinn Féin deputies' offices down here if there's a problem. And likewise with government parties in particular, because I think there's a perception amongst the public that if you contact the constituency office of a government party member, then perhaps you're likely to get to the minister faster or whatever. So there's a lot of pressure on a lot of political offices in relation to passports, and the cases are very stressful. You know, when someone's crying on the phone to you saying they're going to miss their holiday that they've been waiting for 2 years, that they've taken out a loan from the credit union or whatever to fund, you know, it's a big deal to try to solve it. And sometimes, rarely, but sometimes it's not possible to solve it in time. Most of the time, I think, certainly from the feedback I've got, most of the time the Oireachtas line does provide a good service. And of course, if there's real urgent cases, that they often come to my office, and certainly I think 9 out of 10 times we get a response that's appropriate and reasonable. So that's just the first thing I want to say. You know, people have responded, I think, in a way that is helpful to me, making suggestions in terms of how we can improve things. Obviously, there are frustrations at times, but by and large, I think people have been recognising that we have extraordinary demand this year, and we're trying to deal with it by putting a lot more people into the system, and staffing levels and infrastructure have expanded dramatically in the space of 9 or 10 months to try to deal with that demand. And I'm glad to say that I think we've reached the peak now, and it's actually starting to fall quite dramatically. The second half of the year I think will be a lot easier for obvious reasons, because a lot of people would have needed to get their passports before the holiday season starts. So
I suppose, looking at systems, as you rightly point out, the vast majority of people don't have to come to us. So when a system is operating like that, you always look for the part of the system that's failing, where the logjams are occurring. I think most of us would say that an awful lot of the logjams relate to children. And therefore, it seems to me to be very basic in that case, if that is correct, that you do a systems analysis and say that any passport for a juvenile would be pre-validated very early in the process. And with computers nowadays, particularly with online applications, and most of the cases I'm getting are online, so you've got all the data there, including the date of birth. I can't understand why they can't be pulled out, pre-validated and sorted out, because I imagine that your office would have saved an awful lot of time within your own office and in all the other query offices if we could have taken out all the problems that arose in relation to children's forms. And the problem is this: parents can't go on holidays without their own children.
Minister, please.
I mean, I understand those arguments. I mean, ideally, you know, every city would like to have, and every town and every county would like to have convenience to be able to go and pick up an emergency passport at short notice locally, you know, but My job is to try to deliver 130, 150, 160,000 passports a month, and to do it in an efficient way where I can stand over the delivery times that we say we're going to deliver in, and to get more than 90% of our passports delivered within those timelines. And for the other 10% or 5% or 2% or 3%, whatever the figure is, where there are issues, to actually turn around those and to fix them as quickly as we possibly can. And we are doing that systems analysis that Deputy Ó Cuív raised. I mean, he's right. If you have this is about systems. If you're trying to deliver 6,000 passports a day to the public, you can't have a system where we used to have in the past, where you drop a passport in a box and a TD can take a dozen passports home to constituents. I can understand the attraction of that in the past, but we are into a space now of having much higher volumes, and an expectation from the public that they can apply from their home online by applying on an iPad or a computer at home, and expecting to get their passport in 2 or 3 working days if it's a normal, straightforward renewal. And of course for children to actually have turnaround times within 25 working days now, which is down from... and by the way, if you speak to other countries about children's passports being turned around in 25 working days, most of them think that that's an extraordinary delivery time, given the security checks that are required and so on. So it's not a perfect system, but it's not a bad system either. I think we will have a lot more flexibility with the new software platform that we're going to have in place this time next year, I hope, or certainly close to that. We'll be testing this time next year at least. I'm told that the security considerations around how the Passport Office has to function today will give us a lot more flexibilities to be able to work potentially through network of social welfare offices or intro offices or post offices in terms of providing more passport services to different parts of the country. In relation to the north, there are a higher percentage of the passport applications from the north are paper applications than in the south. We need to change that, and I need your help in getting the message out to applicants in Northern Ireland to get their Irish passports that they should be applying online, because it's a much more straightforward process. We are looking at whether we can put some kind of a specific web chat function for applicants in Northern Ireland to be able to get information for urgent cases and so on. I've been asked whether or not I could open the Oireachtas line to MLAs in Northern Ireland. I think that would be a very difficult thing to do, and would be unfair in some ways on Oireachtas members if the lines were to be clogged up as a result of that. So we are looking for solutions in terms of improving communications and getting better information flow back and forth to applicants. At the moment we're not. I haven't ruled it out. I've said that, but at the moment we're trying to prioritise turnaround times and a response to the public demand where the pressure points are most.
Thank you very much.
But I'm not ruling out a passport office in the north, but it's not first on the priority list for now.
Thanks very much, Minister.